speaking to us and leading the prayers. I should also just note, because of the pandemic, we also cut down the size of the service. That has nothing to do with Hazel. That has to do with the space that we are shared together. We want to make sure that we're not in the space too long for obvious reasons. And when we leave, you'll return your prayer books, and there will be also a different exit out, as is suggested during this time. So, I'm Rabbi Alex, that's Cantor Frank, Paul Staley, Mr. Harvey Horowitz over here as well. And we are Hazel's teachers and friends, and we're really grateful to really be here. So welcome. We are going to begin in our prayer book on page 288. I'll invite Hazel to come up, and she has an English reading here. First, I'll look. Allie, are we okay? Allie, do we have everyone that we need here? Are we waiting for anyone? Okay. All right. So Hazel's going to start on page 288.
May my life be one link in a chain of goodness. As I say the prayers of my ancestors, help me to recall their devotion and faithfulness, their joy and suffering, which are in every word. Holiness is my heritage, may I be worthy of it. May our tradition live in me and pass from me to generation I shall never know, enriched by the truth that I have found and the good deeds that I have done. So may I fulfill my task on earth and receive my blessing. And when the service ends and the prayers have ceased, help me bring their spirit into the world in which I live. May I love God above all and my neighbor as myself, and be a living witness to the truth that never changes. Moda ani lefanecha melechai v'kayam shehechazarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha.
What Hazel just recited was a prayer of thanksgiving that we say when we open our eyes in the morning. So blessed just to be alive. We are now going to be presenting her with her talit or talis. That is the fringe garment that we receive. We give a bar bat mitzvah as they become a Jewish adult. And I'd like to welcome up Harry and Phyllis Newman, Hazel's grandparents, to present her with the talis. The prayer itself will be on page 289. So if you could just go behind her and actually place it on her. And why don't you hold it up so everyone can see this beautiful talis? And it perfectly matches the dress that Hazel has as well. And the prayer is, again, on page 289.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef batzitzit.
Amen. Blessed are you, God, King of the universe, who sanctifies us with your commandments and commands us to wear your fringed talis. And this is her very first time doing this, so she's going to be reciting the Shekianu prayer, the prayer for new things. It can be found on 648 if you wanted to follow along.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu la'azman hazeh.
Amen. Bless you, God, the ruler of the universe, who brought us life, brought us to this moment, allows us to arrive at this day and to celebrate together. We are going to be turning to page 313 in our service for the Baruch Hu, our call to prayer. Invite Cantor Frank and Paul Staley. Please rise if you're able. Blessed are you, God, who is present with us today. We turn to page 318, and Hazel will be leading us in the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod, Malhutov, Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated. Hazel will continue with the V'ahavta, page 319.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'elech asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shvitecha b'veitecha uv'lektecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam laot al yadecha v'hayu letotefot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim Eloheihem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotziet yedchem mi'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem.
I'd like to invite Cantor Frank up again for page 322, Mi Chamocha, the crossing of the sea.
Mi chamocha ba'edim Adonai, mi chamocha ne'etam ha'kodesh, nor ha'teilut osefena, nor ha'teilut osefena. Shir chadashan shebechagemulim, eshimot vatayom yachad kulam, odu v'himko v'omeru, Adonai himnoch le'olam va'ed. Zu Yisrael, como be'ezrat Yisrael, uvtikenu mecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael, go'alenu, Adonai tzvaot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Goy Yisrael.
I invite you to rise for the tefillah or Amidah. It begins on page 323 and it continues to 337. Take a few minutes now to think about Thanksgiving and also send out some blessings to Hazel, and whenever you're finished, you may be seated. Page 337, Oseh Shalom. Bless you, God, the giver of peace. We're now going to be turning to the Torah service, which is on page 366 in your prayer books. I'd like to invite up some of Hazel's family, her grandparents, Phyllis and Harry Newman, to take a stand kind of near the Torah that's over here. And I'd like to invite up also Allie and Gideon. Be careful, the wires. Oh, sorry, there's two Torahs on the other side. Harry, if you want to go on the other side. What we're going to do right now is actually pass the Torah from different members of her family all the way through to Hazel, and we're going to have Allie in charge of it. I'm going to invite everyone to rise. This is symbolic of passing the Torah from the generations Lador all the way from Mount Sinai and Moses, through the prophets and through the generations, all the way to Hazel, where she accepts Torah for herself.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, תהיה מלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, וקדוש, וקדוש אתה. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור,
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך.
Hazel will now be leading us responsibly in the prayers in the middle of 366.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Galul Adonai Yiti, Uneronema Shemo, Yachdav.
What we'll now do is, Allie, if you could put the Torah back, and we're going to invite everyone to sit down at this time. We're going to be turning to the actual reading of the Torah. We are in the book of Leviticus. We're moving back in time to when Hazel originally was going to have her bat mitzvah. What page are we on, Harvey?
463.
So if you look under your chairs, you might find a book. Mr. Horowitz, if you want to hold that up there. This is what it would look like, and you said 300... 463. I got that. So, Hazel, why don't you come back to the Torah itself? And just be careful. So, a couple of things. First of all, Hazel, if you reach into that bag there, we have what's called a yad. If you want to hold that up for everyone. This is a pointer. We don't touch the Torah directly. The yad is used so that to help Hazel, and this is presented to you by your religious school family. And Joanne Marcusy, our executive director, picked that out. I hope that you'll be able to use that in the future. I also would like to point out Harvey Horowitz over here, who will be serving as the gabbai. A gabbai is kind of the checker, the pointer. If you think about gymnastics, you have someone in there, make sure you don't fall. So Mr. Horowitz, who has served as Hazel's teacher in 6th and 7th grade, as well as her tutor for today, he will make sure if she needs a spotter, that's the word, spotter. He's there to help her. For the aliyot, first we're going to invite up her maternal grandparents, Harris and Phyllis Newman again. If you could come up, the prayer is over here, and there is a microphone for you as well. Hazel, if you could just find the place in the Torah and just be ready when after they do the blessing. Yeah, we're ready for Yamdu, grandparents.
Baruch hu Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olah asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. V'ra'ah hakohen et habasar hachai v'tim'o habasar hachai tamehu tzara'atu ochi yashuv habasar hachai v'nepach lelavan uva el hakohen v'ra'ahu hakohen v'hinei nepach hanega lelavan v'tihar hakohen et hanega tahorhu.
Now we're ready for the second blessing after the Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olanu natan v'torachenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. You can be seated, and we're going to bring up Ali and Gideon for the second Aliyah. Yamdu, Alexandra, Davida, Gideon, La'aliyah, Hasheni.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'tan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Uvasar ki yevo ve'oro shachin v'nirpa v'haya bimkom hashachin se'etz levana o v'heret levana adam damet v'nir'a el hakohen v'ra'ah hakohen v'hinei mar'echa shafal min ha'or usa'arat hafach lavan v'tim'o hakohen negatzarat hi bashachlin paraha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher natan lanu et Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. We're on Leviticus 13, verse 18, and we're going to invite everyone to rise at this point. We have a special custom here that Harvey Horowitz will lead. What we're going to do is we're going to make a fist like this, and we're going to say, Chizki, Chizki, and that means strength, and that's, we're going to give Hazel an extra push for her official aliyah, which is one of the most important things she does here at the Bat Mitzvah.
Ta'amod, 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 habachura habat mitzvah, Hadassah bat Alexandra Davida, la'aliyah ha'shelishit.
Chizki.
Do I do
The blessing.
Baruch et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bachar banu mikol amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Uvasar Ki Yevo V'Aro Shechin V'Nirpa. V'Haya Bimkom Hashechin Se'etz Levana Ova Heret Levana Adam Damet V'Nir'a El HaKohen Uva V'Ra'a HaKohen V'Hine Mar'echa Shafal Min Ha'or Usa'arat Hafach Lavan V'Tim'o HaKohen Negatzarat Hi Bashachin Paraha. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Et Torato Torat Emet B'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. I want you to think about one word blessing you'd like to offer Hazel here. We're going to give her a communal blessing, and we'll do it popcorn style, which means just call out once we have the opportunity. Misha Berak Abtino Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Yimoteno Sarah Karecha Leah. May the Holy One bless their ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Bless Hazel with may she gather all those blessings, keep them coming. May she feel them all inside her heart and store them up for whenever she needs, and may she be granted health and happiness together with all her family and with everyone gathered here. And may we have many opportunities to gather together in the near and the far future for happy events like today. And we say, Amen. So Hazel, I'm going to ask you to put the Torah cover on the Torah and take. Don't forget your yad there. And we are going to invite. You guys can sit down for a minute. We're going to invite Hazel over here, and we have candy to be passed around. I don't know, Gideon, or we have the nephews here. Maybe Hazel's cousins want to hand it over. So Hazel, you're going to have to come here to the middle. This is a custom. You can put down the yad in the center over here, or just on that table is good. So Hazel, come right over here, kind of in front of the bima, not too close to all those people there. You might look at them as your family and friends, but they are anything but. Right now what we're going to do is we are going to shower you with love and support, symbolic. These are not to be eaten. This is candy that will be thrown very softly at Hazel. We do not want to injure her on her bat mitzvah. So what we'll do is we say shower, so a very light sprinkle. And we'll be singing Siman Tov and Mazel Tov, which is a way of saying good luck and wonder during this wonderful occasion. So on Cantor's signal and Paul Staley, we will raise your hand if you still need some candy. If you're in the virtual audience, feel free to throw things at your screen. That works as well. Or if you have a picture of Hazel. Hazel, I just want to remind you that years ago you did have a chance to throw it at your brother. Now is his revenge. And we will need some helpers cleaning up afterwards. So those of you passing out the candy, if you want to help collect at the end. And we will certainly provide it for you after the services. Okay, so on Cantor's signal.
Siman Tov and Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov. Yehelanu, 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 U'echol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, U'echol Yisrael. Yehelanu,
ones up here, just put them back in the baskets over here. Not too bad. Hazel, did you survive? You look like you're in one piece. I think Joanne bought some heavier candy, so it's a little harder to throw. These are what's called gushers. I never knew what gushers were. And then they were in our kitchen over here, and my daughter said, "Gushers, they're the best." They're apparently a new candy that has something soft inside of them.
And they'll
One
be
already
waiting
opened.
for you on the way out of the sanctuary to snack on.
All right, so Hazel, we're going to invite you back to your original mic, and we are going to be turning now to the Tree of Life, which is how we say goodbye to the Torah portion. It's on page 374 in your prayer books. The other books you'll no longer need, so if you did find them, just put them back underneath your seat.
It is the tree of life to those who fester. All of its supporters are happy. It is the tree of life to those who fester. All of its supporters are happy. Shalom, shalom, shalom,
Wonderful. Keep in mind that theme, a tree of life, because it ties right into what Hazel will share with us. She has some words prepared today of wisdom about her Torah portion and about her life as well. Hazel, just make sure into the mic there.
Yes, okay. My Torah portion is called Tazria Mitzorah. This is a section of the Torah that would have been read if my bat mitzvah had taken place in April as originally planned. This is a double portion, 2 portions read together so that we can finish our yearly cycle. My Torah portion is essentially about skin diseases, mold, and what to do if you have one of these ailments. One could say it's the perfect portion for a year in a pandemic. The rabbi tells me a lot of people don't like my Torah portion because it's gross. I'll be the first to admit it's definitely not fun to talk about leprosy and disease, but I think there can be a beauty in it. In the section that I read, the priest has to carefully examine the skin to make sure there are no signs of the disease. The priest must go through a very important process to make sure someone isn't infected. If the person was identified as sick, they'd get put in quarantine for a week, and they could only return to the camp when the condition was gone. Sound familiar? Although this was written thousands of years ago, it is similar to the way we treat diseases today. Humans live in a natural world full of beautiful things such as plants and animals. We also live in a world full of not so good things like diseases and death. There are dangers within our world, but that's what makes it beautiful. The natural world is such an important thing and has been part of my life for longer than I can remember. When I was younger, I used to love finding insects, worms, and snakes. I was practically raised in Delaware Park. That's why I decided to volunteer at Beaver Meadow Nature Preserve. I had such a great time there, and I was awed by the beauty of the natural world. That's the thing with nature. There's a contrast between disease versus beauty. This year has been such a year of contrast. On one hand, you have the coronavirus, and on the other, you have to spend more time with family. I got to see my grandparents more frequently and got closer with my brother and mother. On that note, that brings me to my thank yous. First, I'd like to thank Lauren Makienko for helping me with my bat mitzvah project and the amazing opportunity to help at Beaver Meadow. Next, I'd like to thank the cantor and the rabbi for helping me prepare for this very important day. I'd also like to thank Harvey Horowitz for meeting with me every week and taking time out of his day to help me learn my portion. Thank you to my father and brother for their love and support. A special thanks to my Grandma Phyllis and Papa Butchie, who do so much for my family and me. They're always there for us, and their love, generosity, and Sunday dinners have kept us sane. I'd like to thank my mother for being there for me and helping me through a hard time. And lastly, I'd like to thank my friends and family who are here for your support on my special day. I'm so glad after a year and a half of not being able to see loved ones, I get to be surrounded by them today.
And this is how we show our appreciation here. Thank you, Hazel. This is the Broadway approach here. We're going to invite up Allie Newman, the mom, to address Hazel.
Stand next to me. So she told me not to embarrass her, but I can't promise that. And also in the 2 years since Gideon's bar mitzvah, I now need reading glasses. So Shabbat Shalom, happy Juneteenth, happy Father's Day. We are here today to celebrate my daughter, Hazel Cole Curran. Hazel was named intentionally for two of the kindest and most generous women that have graced my life. Her middle name, Cole, is in memory of her great aunt, Carol Curran, a woman who, in the short amount of time that I knew her, made a profound impression on me. Aunt Carol was honest, open, and spoke her mind. She let you know what she was thinking and how she was thinking it. But Carol also took the time to get to know people, really know them. She asked questions, she listened. She was the sort of person who made you feel special the moment you walked into a room. Hazel's first name is in memory of her great-grandmother, my Grandma Helen. As a child, my world revolved around Grandma Helen. She doted on her grandkids, wanting nothing more than to feed them and shower them with love. Bubby kisses and Andy's candies defined my childhood. No place was safer to me as a kid than in Grandma's arms. Both Helen and Carol were quietly resilient, inconspicuously strong-willed, and able to bring out the best in others, no matter the circumstances. When I think about Hazel, I see the legacy of these two women reflected in all that she does. My daughter exemplifies these traits and embodies the values of these women each and every day. I tell myself, Hazel's not my second child, she's my nth child, because all that she does, all that she believes, she does so to the superlative. Ever since she was a toddler, Hazel has had the unique ability to fully commit to whatever it is about which she is passionate. As a 3-year-old, as she mentioned, it was worms. After a warm, rainy day, no worm was left untouched, unloved, uncared for. She named them, she created habitats for them, and she mothered them. A few years later, it was Jane Goodall. Hazel became infatuated with Jane. We read every book we could get our hands on. She had a Jane journal in which she cut out photos of Jane, drew pictures of chimps, and wrote stories about Jane, and so on through the years. With each devotion came another chapter in the story of our family. Flip through the pages of that story, and you'll see photos of her pet Sunny, the bearded dragon, video clips of Hazel describing in detail the proper diet, habitat, humidity, and temperature requirements to maintain a pet lizard. There are moments in time captured of her and her cousin Hannah selling homemade dog treats at the farmer's market. There's a chapter devoted to arts and crafts and DIY and Pinterest, like something you see on a Pinterest board. Want to know how to make a garland from dried orange slices or how to grow a plant from a clipping? How about making a bracelet from soda can pull tabs? Just ask Hazel. The most recent chapter in our book, the one about the last year and a half, shows Hazel's devotion to school and remote learning, her desire not just to succeed academically, but to be the best at school, to prove to herself and others that she deserves a spot in that advanced math class. She throws herself in, dives in deep, stays underwater for as long as it takes to get it right. I bet she can hold her breath longer than any of us. Today, as she stands straddling that blurry line between childhood and adulthood, between squirmy worms and global pandemics, Hazel's passions have evolved, but her convictions remain unwavering. Like Helen and Carol before her, Hazel embodies the Jewish values of kavod habriyut, which roughly translates to human dignity. Rabbi, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is Hazel, showing empathy for the underdog, providing support for the misunderstood, advocating for the downtrodden. Without even realizing it, she practices emet, which means truth and integrity. It's the idea that if we speak truth to oneself and others, we can create communities characterized by trust, cooperation, and mutuality. The other day, while shopping for bat mitzvah shoes at Marshall's, some beautiful wall hangings made from wood and yarn caught our eye. Some were tapestries, and some were like dream catchers, giant dream catchers. They were beautiful. This would look great in your room, I told Hazel as I pointed to a large dream catcher. Hazel looked at me and said, I don't think I want that in my room, Mom. It feels like cultural appropriation to hang a dream catcher in my room. Then, amongst the beach towels and pet beds, we proceeded to have a sincere and serious conversation about whether displaying a mass-produced dream catcher would be considered a form of cultural appropriation. She's only 13. She has taught me countless lessons about the harm caused by heteronormativity and is constantly schooling me on how to talk about preferred pronouns and the importance of challenging gender norms. As an educator, I am well aware of teachable moments and those times when, as parents, we have the opportunity to share a life lesson, point out the larger significance of something that may seem small. At 13 years old, I'm proud that Hazel is not one to shy away from teachable moments, even when it means she is the teacher and I'm the student. Before I close, I'd like to take a moment to remember my Uncle Bob. Bob Milch was a man who personified Emet, who passed away just a few weeks ago. The Monday before he died, we were able to spend a beautiful afternoon with him, and for those few hours, I will forever be grateful. His absence today is profound, and I have no doubt that were he here, he'd be so proud of Hazel and her advocacy for those who often struggle to have their voices heard by the masses. Bob gave a voice to many, and I like to think Hazel is following his lead, carrying a flame from Uncle Bob's powerful torch. I'd also like to offer my gratitude to my family and friends, especially my parents. Grandma Phyllis's Passover Seders laid the foundation for my kids' Jewish identities and motivated us to join Shir Shalom upon our move to Buffalo 13 years ago. Our weekly Sunday dinners do indeed keep us all sane, and when we reflect on our highs and lows each Sunday evening, our high is always dinner at Papa and Grandma's, without fail. My appreciation and gratitude for my parents and all they do for my kids and me is inordinate. Thank you to everyone here at Shir Shalom who, despite a global pandemic, empowered Hazel to stand up on this bima today, well, near the bima today, in front of you all, Rabbi Alex and Cantor and Mr. Horowitz and all of her teachers and the religious school staff. I am so grateful for your dedication to Hazel. And to those who are no longer with us, grandparents, parents, friends, and beloved uncles, we are standing up here on this bima today because of you. Your history and lessons and recipes and laughter and bubby kisses are in our hearts today and always. Jane Goodall writes, each one of us matters, has a role to play, and makes a difference. Each one of us must take responsibility for our own lives, and above all, show respect and love for living things around us, especially each other. Just like the women for whom she was named, and Jane too, this young woman who stands beside me today is growing into her role, taking the part seriously, and will continue, without a doubt, to make a profound difference. Hazel, I love you beyond words, and I am extremely proud of you today and always.
Hazel, we go way back, you and I. Especially being in my daughter's class, gotten to know you very, very well. And I think the story that comes to mind is maybe about 4 or 5 years ago when there was a new president, came to the White House, and a letter was written from Miss Hazel about justice and righteousness. And even at 7 or 8 years old, you had a good sense of who you were. I thought, boy, no politician better mess with this one here. I have on my mask here something my wife gave me, which is, it's a Hebrew mask. It was done by a rabbi. It says, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdof. This is from the Torah. It means righteousness, righteousness, you shall pursue. And this word at the end, you shall pursue, is super important. First of all, in the Torah, when they wanted to say something with emphasis, they didn't have any exclamation marks, they had nothing like that. They repeated words. I'm sure you know, if you repeat something, that means it's important. But to add this extra word, you shall pursue, it means that justice, which is fairness, equality, a sense of peace that we need in our world, does not just come, but we need to pursue it. Pursue it like you pursued your knowledge of Jane Goodall. Pursue it like anything that is sacred and important to you, to this world. Some of us, this is a very hard skill to do. It's hard to get up from our seats to try to think that we might be able to change the world. We came into this world, we just assume that the world is the way it's supposed to be, and that we, our small self, what can we do? There's 7.5 billion people in this world. How could we, one individual, have a possibility of changing the world? But some of us are born with this ability to tirdof, to run after, to chase, to make sure that if the world is not living up to our ideals, that we go and we make sure that it is. We hold it accountable. And those are the rare individuals that we need to make this world better. And Hazel, I think you've always known how to chase after justice. And not just as a game, but in all seriousness and vigorousness as justice needs to be pursued in this world. So I very much look forward to future letters that you write. I hope that you'll share them with me. Maybe I'll find them in the newspaper one of these days, or other places where you've left your mark and made sure that we have held to our ideals and that we are true to ourselves. And thank you in advance for your service to humanity in that way. We have over here a certificate right on this little table. This is our challah table, and there is your bat mitzvah certificate that Cantor and I have already signed. If you could find the place where it says bat mitzvah and sign your name, by doing so you are pledging yourself to the synagogue community for time and eternity, and you'll make sure to send us checks in the mail. No, just kidding. This is a reminder, this has your Hebrew name, Hadassah. What a beautiful name. That is one of my heroes, which is Esther. That was her Hebrew name, and that's a wonderful name. One of our primary organizations, Hadassah, a leader in the women's rights movement, and you probably will get their, you're probably a lifetime member already. You'll probably get one of their magazines in your mail. And in front of you, you also will have a Kiddush cup. That's the thing that's wrapped over there. That is presented to you from the synagogue board, and that's for sacred occasions so that you can take Judaism and have some ritual items, just like your talis there. We also have underneath your bat mitzvah certificate is a certificate to go to Israel. That is, the Kiddush cup is also from our Women of Shir Shalom and Men's Club. That is a certificate that gives you a $250 discount to go to Israel through the Reform movement. But you do, and Gideon, you should be listening as well, and young people, you do have a free trip to Israel, $10,000 trip. When you turn 18, that is called Taglit, birthright, and I hope you'll take advantage of that when you have time. You could even go together. You're kind of close enough in age that is actually possible. So I hope that you'll take all of those gifts, and they will be good sacred reminders of our wonderful occasion today. I'm going to invite Cantor up here. We're going to offer you the priestly blessing. This is a blessing that goes back thousands of years, that's been handed down to us, and we now hand it down to you. We invite everyone to rise. Cantor will say the Hebrew, and I will have the English. Bless you and watch over you.
Yeah.
God shine God's light upon you and grant you comfort. May God take off God's mask for you and give you and all of us peace. And may we say, Amen. Mazel tov. We remain standing now for Aleinu, page 586 in our prayer books. It's not enough for us just to pray, but we need to go out and do good deeds in this world. And Cantor Frank will be leading.
עלינו לשבח ולהודות הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמכם כנוגיהם, וכל בנינו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 591. You may be seated. One day we will all be one with God, one with one another. We will no longer have hatred and bloodshed in this world. We're going to be turning now to the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. As we already heard from Allie, we are remembering Dr. Robert Milch, Uncle Bob, as well as Robert Summerstein. Those of you whose custom it is to rise, please rise, and we'll recite the Mourner's Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah B'alma divrach chiratei v'yamlik malchutei b'chayachon v'yamachon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael b'agalah v'zman kariv v'yamru Amen. Yehesh me Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei almaya Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudashah Brechu. Leila mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran v'alma v'yimaru, amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru, amen. Oseh shalom v'yimaramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimaru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world, and we say, Amen. You may be seated. Zikronam livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. So Hazel, you could take a nice deep breath. We have just a couple more things for you, but you did the majority of what's set up. Beautifully done. We're so grateful to be able to host this after this crazy year. It's wonderful to be together even in this somewhat limited way, and I know Hazel really appreciates everyone's presence here, and we're grateful as a community to be able to host her important life cycle event. I hope that she always feels that Shir Shalom is connected to her own life journey as well. So as we head towards the end, just a a reminder, we're going to put our prayer books back. You'll see Joanne and Sherry Joe back there. We'll bring our prayer books back over there. And we're going to exit out of the other door. This is part of our COVID protocol here. But we are right at our final prayer now, page 625 for Adon Olam, and then we'll have Hamotzi and Kiddush. So Hazel and Cantor and Paul will be leading. Gideon and Hazel to lift our Kiddush cup here. The prayer itself is page 606 in your prayer books. And if you guys want to lift up the Kiddush cup there, and we'll do B'rei Pri Hagafen. Amen. L'chaim. Now lift up the challah. Do Hamotzi. Amen. As you came in peace, may you leave in peace. Shabbat shalom and mazel tov.